Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, friends and colleagues. I welcome you to a special session on Arab winter and what follows. Arab spring and what it follows. Is it winter? It's a very controversial subject, and for that, the organizers have managed to assemble great speakers, and it's not a special session, it's an exceptional session that we have today. I will ask each member of the panel to give a 3 to 5 minutes presentation, and then after that we'll open the floor for Q&As. Before I go to our first speaker, I would like to say a few remarks. No one can deny that the Arab people were seeking change and better life, and the question is how do you bring about that change? We've tried so many models. We have witnessed over the past decade so many models in bringing about change in the Arab world. It started with a military intervention and occupation in Iraq, where the first time a regime was overthrown by foreign forces. And obviously, it is not working the way people hoped. And then we saw a change by also military assistance, the case of Libya, however, without occupation. And before that, until Bouazizi burned himself in Tunisia, and the popular uprising in Egypt, and also people have some doubts right now. And if you do a balance sheet today, did the Arab Spring bring really democracy into the Arab world? How many jobs the Arab Spring have created? How many refugees it has led to? Today you have in Syria more than 6 million refugees inside Syria and probably 3 to 4 million outside Syria. So to answer all these questions, we have a great panel. I will go briefly and mention who they are. And we start first by Dr. Abdulghafar. He's the former Minister of Foreign Affairs in the Kingdom of Bahrain. Now he's a special advisor to the King. To his left is Dr. Makram Ebeid. She's a well-known politician. She is a former member of parliament and a senator as well. She's been very active before the uprising, during the transition period in Egypt, and right now, so she's the perfect guest to brief us on the situation in Egypt. Also to her left is Mr. Lèon Gross. He's the special EU representative to the southern Mediterranean. He just came from Cairo and Tunisia. I'm sure he's a right person to also brief us on the situation in these two countries. To his left is Minister Samira Rajab, the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs and Information, I guess. And I'm sorry, she's the spokesperson for the Kingdom of Bahrain. She will also tell us about how the situation in Bahrain is developing, and the government's efforts to inform the world about the real situation in Bahrain and the effect of the media as well. To her left also, someone I'm sure the audience would have a lot of questions, and they will grill him, and I expect them to do that. P.J. Crowley, a friend of mine, he served under President Clinton. He was special assistant to the president, and then when the Republicans took over, he took a break from the government for 8 years, and then he rejoined the State Department under Secretary Hillary Clinton at a time when the Arab world started the uprising, and now he's back to the private sector. He's a professor. So join me in welcoming our guests today, and please, I will start by Mr. Abdulghafar. 3 to 5 minutes, please. I would not hesitate to interrupt you with respect.
5 minutes, 3 to 4. شكرا. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. في رأيي أن موضوع الربيع العربي أو التغيرات التي حصلت في العالم العربي موضوع معقد، وكذلك الإجابات التي صدرت والآراء التي صدرت كذلك آراء تختلف في رؤاها حول ما الذي حدث على سبيل المثال في ليبيا، في مصر، في تونس، في اليمن. في اعتقادي أننا يجب أن ندرس جذور هذه المشكلة قبل أن نعطي إجابات ثانوية. في رأيي أن هناك أسباب جذرية. السبب الجذري في رأيي بأن الدولة القطرية لم تتأسس في العالم العربي حسب المعايير المعروفة للدولة القطرية، إنما بعد الثورات التي حدثت في الأربعينات والخمسينات، أو بالأحرى الانقلابات العسكرية، تأسست دول الحزب الواحد، وهذه الدول استمرت لسنوات طويلة ولعقود طويلة، فهناك كان في فجوة بين دولة الحزب الواحد والمجتمع. الجانب الآخر هو الجانب التاريخي. أعتقد بعد انهيار الدولة العثمانية الدول الاستعمارية التي أتت إلى منطقتنا لم تحاول أن تبني جذور أساسية للتطور الديمقراطي. فمثلا بريطانيا فعلت هذا الشيء في الهند. في الهند هناك كان في بدايات دستورية وبدايات حياة ديمقراطية أثناء وجود الإنجليز في الهند، وهم كملوا التجربة بعد خروج الإنجليز من الهند. فأنا أعتقد أحصر هذه الأمور. أما الأمر الآخر وهي الأمور الضرورية، يعني هناك أسباب جذرية التي تحدث عنها وأسباب ضرورية. الأسباب الضرورية أن الدول التي جاءت بعد الانقلابات العسكرية في الأربعينات والخمسينات لم تتمكن أن تلبي احتياجات المواطن العربي من صحة وتعليم على مستوى عال، وأهم شيء لم تبني مؤسسات لحرية التعبير. أنا لا أريد أن أتكلم عن الديمقراطية، لأن الديمقراطية منظومة متكاملة، يعني بغض النظر عن وجود الديمقراطية أم لا، فإن هذه الأنظمة لم تترك حرية للتعبير، وهذا أدى إلى أن أمور تتفاقم ليس سنة بعد سنة، عقد بعد عقد، إلى أن تفجرت الأوضاع. شكرا.
شكرا دكتور عبدالغفار. أنتقل الآن إلى الدكتورة منى مكرم عبيد. عندي الكثير من الأسئلة ولكن بعد أن تنتهي من التحدث. شكرا.
Thank you, Mr. Harb. I don't know how I can relate events in a country that has, in less than 3 years, removed 2 presidents that they were not able to do for 60 years. Anyway, I'll try to be as brief as possible and say what is behind the 2 revolutions. People felt in Egypt humiliated, frustrated, and were treated more like subjects than citizens. So among the main advantages of the first revolution was that it broke the barrier of fear. It also encouraged people to participate. Now they're participating in everything, from demonstrations to referenda to elections, etc. And the third thing is the politicization of the Egyptian masses. So even my Bawab, you know, the house guardian, is interested in politics and asks about politics. So this is a real change that the West was unable to fathom. How can a country or a people that was so passive for so long has taken to the street and today is fighting for their own rights? As Mr. Minister has said, it is not so much democracy, but it is karama, dignity, human dignity. People were fighting to restore their human dignity. Morsi's popular impeachment, because this is what I call it, it's neither a military coup nor was it a revolution, it was a popular impeachment. It was embraced by millions of Egyptians who took to the street long before they gave power of attorney to the army. So they demanded that the army would halt the violence because they felt that they were on the brink of civil war. And that is why, although many summations were made to the former president to either call for premature elections or to call or to resign, all these went on deaf ears, and there was only obstinacy that only reinforced the rejection of the masses. After his election, what could have been a step towards civilian democracy, that's what we were hoping. We even encouraged him once he was elected. It soon became to be seen as the first phase of a partisan power grab by Morsi and the Muslim Brother leaders, who wanted to change the social landscape, who wanted to change the political landscape, and a creeping way of taking over the state. And as the grassroots organization, this is very important to see how the new generation is reacting today to the Arab Spring, at least in Egypt, the movement called Tamarrud, which was rebellion. This movement gained steam, and millions of Egyptians called for Morsi's early removal from office and new elections. These are the pleas that the military answered by deposing the president on July the 3rd. We will talk about later on the ramifications of this deposition. What does it mean, a roadmap? What does it mean, a military-backed government today? Are we going towards a civilian state democracy, or are we going back to military rule? This is what the question that is on everybody's mind. I will try to answer it later on.
Thank you, Dr. Ebeid. And now I yield the floor for Mr. Gross.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be back here in Tangiers. Congratulations to the organizers. This forum is really consolidating as a reference point in world politics. And very quickly, we have little time. Let me say, first of all, that I cannot share the title of this panel. I think that it's still too early to assess whether this is winter or spring. I think this is a deep historic change. We are leaving behind the post-colonial systems, and we have heard before about the revolutions and the coups in the 40s and the 50s. So that process took 15, 20 years, and these changes we are living today will also take many years. And this is not about simply a political change. This is a whole, for the reasons we have just heard, because there is a politicization of societies. Societies are not anymore ready to accept things that could be accepted, not acceptable, but accepted a few years ago. And all these countries will have to go through deep changes, deep social changes to consolidate what we are seeing today. Let's just compare, for instance, Tunisia with other countries in the region. Tunisia is a country where women have a role which, of course, in countries like Egypt or Morocco or Algeria, you see also similar trends, but I think it's more extended. It's been consolidated for a longer time in Tunisia. Same thing about education, universal education. It's a reality in the country. Middle class is a reality in the country. This is what is going to take place in the coming years in most of these countries. Similar social changes, and at the same time political transitions. And these transitions in every country will be different. Tunisia is a country without a strong army, so there's no an arbiter, there's no a power that can play a role like the one played in Egypt, and this will make things different in both countries. Same thing about Libya, which is a country which is not in a transition from dictatorship to democracy, is in a transition from a no state to a state. And I mean, in Libya there are no institutions, and building institutions is something that takes years, decades. Just think of my country, Spain. Transition started in '75, and even today we have some crises. What is going on in Catalonia, what is going on with different institutions, and we still say, well, it's going to take time to consolidate transition. We're talking about 35 years. So we cannot be pessimistic. We cannot say this is a winter. It's just a historic, very deep historic change that is taking place. And let's be patient. the question here is whether all this is irreversible or not, and I think it is irreversible, because the decision of societies to change because of the role of youth, because of the economic challenges, because of the need for transparency that will not allow power to act in a similar way. So I'm convinced this is irreversible, and then it's not only to countries in the region, but to us, to the international community, to support these changes, to accompany them with full respect, without trying to dictate or to interfere whatsoever. It's the societies that have to be protagonists, and this is the way European Union is trying to work.
Thank you very much. Minister Rajab, please.
شكرا حرب. وأنا بدوري أشكر أمادوس على هذا المنتدى القيم، وأرجو أن تسع صدركم لدقيقتين أكثر. أتكلم في محور آخر في 5 عناصر رئيسية سأتطرق عليهم بسرعة. أنا أتكلم من خلال هذه المشاركة إلى 5 عناصر أساسية تتعلق بدور الإعلام والاتصال فيما سمي بالربيع العربي، وهل ساهمت هذه الوسائل في دعم هذه الدول على خطط تطوير الإصلاح، أم أنها دفعت إلى نوع من الفوضى الإعلامية والاجتماعية والسياسية التي سرعت بقدوم ما أصبح يعرف بالخريف أو الشتاء العربي. أولاً، لا يمكن اليوم أن نتجاهل الدور التقليدي الذي ظهرت من أجله وسائل الإعلام كإحدى أدوات التأثير وتشكيل الرأي العام، سواء كان ذلك على المستوى المحلي أو الدولي. بل يمكن اعتبار أن وسائل الإعلام والاتصال الحديثة أصبحت تلعب هذا الدور بفعالية أكثر وتعقيد في نفس الوقت أكثر من أي وقت مضى، وتمثل وسائل الإعلام والاتصال إحدى أدوات القوى الناعمة، وقد أصبحت السلاح الجديد الذي تستخدمه الدول والجماعات والمنظمات في تنفيذ البرامج والأجندات السياسية بمختلف أشكالها. ثانياً، الخطر الكبير الذي ظهر في فترة ما سمي بالربيع العربي هو خروج وسائل الإعلام والاتصال عن دورها التقليدي في الأخبار، في الإخبار وإيصال المعلومات إلى الجمهور بكل حيادية وموضوعية، والعمل حسب المعايير المهنية الصحفية والإعلامية الصحيحة. وتحول هذه الوسائل الإعلامية في أغلب الأحيان إلى وسائل توجيه ومغالطة للرأي العام وتشويه للحقائق وللصور الأشخاص والبلدان. ورغم أن بعض وسائل الإعلام المحلية والدولية قد اعترفت في تقاريرها السنوية أنها أساءت تقدير الأوضاع في المنطقة العربية نتيجة تسارع الأحداث على الأرض، إلا أن ذلك لا ينفع اليوم بالرجوع إلى الأضرار الجسيمة التي تسببت فيها معظم وسائل الإعلام والاتصال. ثالثاً، أن المتتبع لعمل وسائل الإعلام والاتصال في فترة الربيع العربي وإلى الآن يلاحظ بكل قوة أن معظم هذه الوسائل قد أصيبت بنوع من الغرور والفرعنة، ونسيت أو تناست دورها الحقيقي ووظيفتها الأصلية ضمن ما يسمى بالمسؤولية الاجتماعية. فعوض أن تساهم بصورة إيجابية في التعاطي مع الأخبار والمعلومات حسب القواعد والضوابط المهنية، أدى عملها إلى نتائج عكسية ما زالت تعاني منه معظم الشعوب العربية وأولها بلدان الربيع العربي. ما يمكن أن يقال في هذا الإطار أن وسائل الإعلام تعاني من أزمة مهنية شاملة وتحتاج إلى مراجعة لوضع الإطار المهني الصحيح الذي يجب أن تعمل ضمنه، وأن تحدد بكل وضوح الخطوط الخطرة لهذه المهنة التي في تجاوزها يمكن أن تتحول النتائج بسهولة إلى نتائج عكسية وخيمة على الشعوب والبلدان. رابعاً، يجب أن نعترف من جهة أخرى بأن الطبيعة المعقدة للعمل الصحفي والإعلامي وتعرضه لمنافسة شديدة من قبل وسائل التواصل الاجتماعي في النشر السريع للأخبار والمعلومات، وتداخله بشكل عميق مع المصالح الاقتصادية والأجندات السياسية، قد خلق في أغلب الأحيان نوعاً من الفوضى الإعلامية. هنا يطرح سؤال هام: هل يكفي تطبيق مدونات السلوك أو مواثيق الشرف الصحفية والإعلامية في جعل هذا القطاع في منأى عن الصراعات السياسية والاستخدام السلبي لها، أثبتت التجربة التي مرت بها التغطية الإعلامية الدولية لأحداث المنطقة العربية في السنتين الأخيرتين أن هذا الأمر لم يكن إلا حبراً على ورق وذر الرماد في العيون. فعملية تحليل التغطية الإعلامية لبعض البلدان العربية أثبتت عدم الالتزام بهذه الضوابط والقواعد الأخلاقية، ويعتبر ذلك طبيعياً لأنها لا تخدم الأهداف التي من أجلها حركت وسائل الإعلام والاتصال ولقضايا بعينها دون أخرى. خامساً وأخيراً، بعدما ترتب على الاستخدام الخاطئ أو الموجه لوسائل الإعلام وخاصة منها الدولية من انعكاسات سلبية ومخاطر حقيقية عن وحدة الشعوب العربية وسلامة أراضيها، بات التفكير في رؤية جديدة لدور وسائل الإعلام في المجتمع أمراً لا بد منه ولا غنى عنه، بل أصبح أمراً ضرورياً لاستكمال فلسفة الأمن القومي للدول. وتأتي في هذا الإطار فكرة الأمن الإعلامي للدول، وهي فكرة لا تقل أهمية عن الأمن الغذائي والأمن العسكري كجزء من الأمن القومي. ولا يجب فهم هذه الفكرة على أنها مس بحرية العمل الصحفي والإعلامي، بل هو أمر تنظيمي يضع النقاط على الحروف أمام الانحرافات الخاطئة والتهديدات القومية التي يمكن أن تقع فيها وسائل الإعلام والاتصال بدون الأخذ بعين الاعتبار المصلحة العامة للدول. في الختام، لربما كان للربيع العربي أن لا يتحول في فترة وجيزة إلى شتاء لو أنه احترم دوره ضمن قواعد الطبيعة. والمقصود هنا أن التجارب السياسية والديمقراطية تختلف من دولة إلى دولة أخرى، ومن ثقافة إلى ثقافة أخرى، ومن زمن إلى زمن آخر، وأن فرض المبادئ أو التغييرات بقوة السلاح أو بفلسفة التنميط أو من خلال الاستيراد الأعمى للثقافات المختلفة لا يكتب لها النجاح، وسرعان ما تندثر مع ظهور موضة جديدة. إن عملية التطوير والإصلاح في جميع المجالات السياسية والاجتماعية والثقافية والاقتصادية ترتبط بالسياق التاريخي والثقافي للمجتمعات، وتحتاج إلى وقت وتمر بالضرورة عبر خطى تدريجية حتى تتحول إلى مبادئ ثابتة، ومن ثم تترسخ في سلوك أفراد المجتمع وتصبح من تراثه وعاداته وتقاليده السياسية والثقافية. شكرا.
Thank you very much. PJ, you have 5 minutes to answer all the accusations made at Washington, and also to answer all the conspiracy theories, please.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm very grateful to the Amadeus Institute for the invitation. And it's a lot more fun now being a professor that gets to ask questions and wrestle with the answers to those questions rather than being at a podium and dodging them. But the first question that we are wrestling with here is, why did Egypt and Tunisia happen? Obviously, as Mona was saying, there was the frustration, the search for dignity and justice that had been long-standing. The pressure was building in the Middle East. But one of the factors, was the role played by information and communication technology. Now, Samir, talked about the term media, but you've got to unpack that a little bit. Obviously, there is, state media, satellite television, traditional media, and social media. Now, these were not Facebook revolutions. These were real revolutions, but obviously facilitated to some extent by a combination of media, a media infrastructure that placed a higher level of information in the hands of individual citizens beyond the control of the state. And that's the fundamental dynamic that is changing the Middle East and changing other parts of the world as we speak. We, the United States, are not immune to this challenge. Obviously, in the context of WikiLeaks or now the Snowden revelations, we too are wrestling with information that has flowed from inside government into the public sphere. China is wrestling with more than 500 million bloggers that is fundamentally changing the relationship between the governed and government. Obviously, technology is a disruptive force. And it is, just as in a discussion with one of our colleagues here, she was saying how technology is changing the nature of the regulated banking system. So this is going to produce change. Some of that change will be constructive. Some of that change will not be constructive. Certainly as you see the change in relationships between people and government and changing the nature of politics, obviously there will be negative impacts. Obviously the role of women in societies in the Middle East is under pressure and of great concern. But by the same token, there is opportunity here. And there are demands by the governed for government to produce more significant opportunity and to provide citizens a real role in how government acts on their behalf. Now, sitting in the State Department in 2011, the question is, did we see this coming? Well, I'll give you a good spokesman answer, yes and no. On January 13th, 2011, Hillary Clinton, my former boss, gave a speech in Doha at the Forum for the Future. And in part of that speech, she challenged the region to undertake fundamental political, social, and economic reform. She said that the foundations of the region are sinking in the sand. Now, she didn't know, as she was standing at a podium in Doha, that 24 hours later, President Ben Ali would leave Tunisia, in exile. So, yes, we anticipated that change would come at some point. By no means did the United States either anticipate what would precisely happen in Tunisia, and then Egypt, and then Bahrain, and then Libya, and then Yemen, and the effects of this continue to the present day. In fact, for those of you who are conspiracy theorists who think that the United States has the levers of power and can manage this change, I assure you, that was never the case. There's no magic wand here. In the Situation Room at the White House in January of 2011, we would have 2-hour meetings on what was happening in Egypt and elsewhere, and we spend the first hour just trying to figure out what was going on. And then we find to the second hour trying to figure out, okay, what do we do about it? And then we repeat that cycle day after day after day as we watch the remarkable events in Tahrir Square. Finally, there's a third question that people, I think, are asking in the region today. Where's the United States? What are you doing? Of course, as President Obama said at the United Nations, we are at once always challenged for doing too much, and we're challenged for doing too little. The United States is still engaged in the Middle East, notwithstanding the political rhetoric behind a pivot to Asia. The fact is that events continue to draw the United States deeper and deeper into the Middle East. If Susan Rice, the National Security Advisor to the President, is a friend and colleague of mine, and on her list, if she were to have a list of the 10 major challenges facing the United States and the world today, half of them would be here in the Middle East. And as John Kerry was just here shuttling around capitals, the situation in Iran, Middle East, the search for Middle East peace, wrestling as these countries are doing with the after effects of the Arab Spring, if you want to call it an Arab winter, I call it an Arab awakening. These are going to be issues that are front and center of the President's agenda for the remaining 3 years that he has in office. I think finally, to borrow a phrase from Ivo Dubourg in yesterday's opening panel, we talked about a hangover in the sense of what his experience was in Copenhagen. I would say that the United States is still going through its hangover in the aftermath of Iraq and Afghanistan, where we have tried to impose solutions on countries from the outside and have found out that that doesn't work very well, and whatever progress has been made in those countries has come at a tremendous cost, first and foremost to those countries, to the regions, and to the United States. So the United States is going to take a different tack going forward, trying to work to help countries with their own plan and strategy enact those strategies, consistent with international norms, and in trying to achieve a stable but new kind of relationship between governments and governed. I think we face globally a challenge of governance, whether governments can deliver opportunity and peace and stability and respect to their citizens. And certainly the information environment that we see in the 21st century is only going to make that challenge much more difficult.
Thank you for your insights, and also I thank you for respecting the time allocated to each one of you. Before I open the floor to questions from the audience, I have a quick question to ask Dr. Makram Ebeid. The slogan of the Egyptian revolution was الشعب يريد إسقاط النظام. People want to bring down the regime. Was it really to bring down the regime, or swap the head of the regime? إبدال رأس النظام وإبقاء على النظام. And 60 years ago, Egypt was split between Muslim Brother and the army. Today, it looks like it's still the same. Muslim Brotherhood and the army. Please.
Egypt is resilient, as you know. Now, what was your first question?
About الشعب يريد إسقاط النظام أم استبدال رأس النظام.
So, this was in the first revolution. And I can say that you're right in a way, because Mubarak was removed, but the system was not changed. And this is the big problem that the transitional period is facing, and that the current government is facing. So they did not proceed to any reform of the state institutions that should have been reformed, like the security, for instance, like the judiciary, and like giving people hope with a clearer strategy. All this was not done until the 30th of July. Now, there is a semi-vision, which is the establishment of a roadmap, which puts landmarks for the future, which is drafting a new constitution, parliamentary and presidential elections, and so on, that will be spread over 4 or 5 months. That doesn't mean there are no obstacles. That doesn't mean that there is no pressure, particularly from the United States, who were in a state of self-denial, not recognizing what was happening on the scene, and which was very strange, because they knew that millions of people took to the street to remove a president who had failed his mandate. That's it. And we still didn't understand why they continued to support one faction who was a failure, and not denounce the violations of this faction during a whole year. Violations of human rights, violations of democracy, all the issues and the values that they have claimed to be the beacon for. So we are hoping that the United States and the European Union will try to be on the right side of history and listen to the people, not to the governments, nor to their governments, but see on the ground what is happening. Now, your second question was that for 60 years it was a binary relationship, or a binary relationship between the army and the Islamists. It took different shades and different aspects. We're back to square one with the army and the Islamists. Except that this time the army is supported by the people, where it was not in 52. The army took over the regime and ousted another regime, and then the people supported it when it transformed into a revolution. This time, it's totally the opposite. It's the people who asked the army because they felt that they were on the brink of civil war. And that's why the general is looked upon as a national hero today, thanks to the Americans. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think, Mr. Gross, you have some remarks?
Yes. Well, the idea that the European Union, and I guess the United States, but I'm not going, I leave that part to, is supporting one faction is simply ridiculous. Ridiculous. It goes to, so let me remind something. I've never spoken publicly about this. It's the first time I'm going to speak publicly about this. But, well, it has been published by Reuters a few months ago, and I think now it's a good moment. I spent 8 months fighting, not trying to convince, but fighting with President Morsi and his team to convince him that the only way that made sense to run Egypt at that point was including the opposition. And it went to the point in which in April we made us, not mediators, but a good office's proposal for a deal between his government and the opposition, the NSF, that in principle was acceptable to both sides. And I have to say that we did that with a strong support from the United States. I insist what I said before, without interfering, without trying to do something that could be seen as an imposition. It started the same night Morsi, in November, published his decree, where he was assuming legislative powers and making himself immune to the judiciary. And that night, I called his main advisor, Sam Haddad, and I told him, this is not going to work. This is exactly the wrong way to do things. Because if you want to protect your constitution, you have to do it not as a lonely rider. You have to do it with all democratic forces. Because if not, you will continue to be the legal president of Egypt, but not the legitimate president of Egypt, because legitimacy...
Why was he resistant? What was his rationale? I mean, why wouldn't he listen to your advice?
Well, I think we cannot demonize completely one side, and if what was said before is that because we don't demonize 100% one side, or we don't say that everything is right at the other side, we are taking sides, then maybe, but we cannot demonize completely and 100% the Muslim Brothers. They made a lot of mistakes. But I don't think, for instance, his movement at that point was to build a dictatorship. I think what he was trying to do was to protect the Constituent Assembly from a decision which could create a lot of problems for the transition, for the democratic transition. And the message from the international community was, you have to protect the Constituent Assembly, but you have to do it with all democratic forces. Because if not, what you are doing, which is to try to protect democratic transition, will become an attack to that democratic transition by creating a polarization. The problem today is polarization, and the concern, which we have as good friends and with full respect without taking sides, it's not the role of the international community to take sides in a country. We don't do this kind of business. What we do is to try to support our friends. And the problem that Egypt has today is, or one of the problems is, a depolarization. And a depolarization between a small group, because I think the Muslim Brothers is a small group, is not between Islamists and non-Islamists. People like Abdul Futu or the Salafis are supporting the government. So it's not between Islamists and not Islamists. It's a small group, the Muslim Brothers, but this small group might be maybe 2 million, 3 million people. So it's not polarization on equal terms. You don't have 50% against 50%. You have a huge majority who supported what happened the 30th June, and a small group, which is the Muslim Brothers, but in a country with the levels of poverty, which are, I have read recently, growth from 40% to 60%. This is complicated, and we all have to work together to overcome this. But I insist, we are not taking sides. We said to Morsi's government back November, the European Union is ready to support the new Egypt with 5.5 billion if democracy goes in the right direction. We haven't transferred a single euro because he failed to do what he agreed with us he would do in order to receive this support. So, and we were accused every day that we were not supporting democracy in Egypt, that we were not supporting Morsi, and now it's funny to hear that we are supporting the Muslim Brothers, but anyway.
Thank you very much. Now, I open the floor to anyone who has a question. Please state your name and if you represent any organization. And please, again, I remind you, please, it's a question, not an intervention. Please, go ahead, sir. Is there any mic here for... يعطي ميكروفون شكرا. الرجاء الاسم والاختصار.
Je suis président de l'Institut marocain des relations internationales et je voudrais poser une question aux représentants de l'Union européenne et des États-Unis. Je considère quand même que l'Union européenne et les États-Unis ont une responsabilité dans le déclenchement du printemps arabe, dans la mesure où, avant ce déclenchement, ils ont soutenu les dictateurs, que ce soit l'Union européenne qui a soutenu Ben Ali, Moubarak et même Assad. Rappelez-vous que Assad était invité à la création de l'Union pour la Méditerranée et de même les États-Unis ont soutenu ces dictateurs. Alors ma question, pourquoi l'avez-vous fait et qu'est-ce que vous allez faire maintenant? Merci.
PJ, do you want to go first?
In international relations, the United States has relationships with governments and relationships with people. It is true in your list that the United States provided significant military support to Hosni Mubarak and his government in Egypt. Why? Because he was the leader of Egypt, and Egypt was acting consistent with its own interest, regional interest, and U.S. interest. Most significantly, the fact that Egypt was the first country in the region to establish diplomatic relations with Israel. Eventually, Jordan joined in, but those were difficult decisions made by those countries, and those decisions carried significant benefit, to the region. In the case of Egypt, while we had an active relationship with the Mubarak government, and the Mubarak government was a constructive actor in the Middle East peace process, for example, at the same time we were having a quiet conversation with President Mubarak himself and others about the need for political change in that country. So, in fact, we were doing two things at once. Working cooperatively with that government on areas of mutual interest, while also encouraging that government, to change and to provide greater economic, social, and political opportunity, for its people. In the case of Syria, for example, yes, we engaged Hafez al-Assad during his tenure, trying to seek comprehensive peace in the Middle East. Again, an area of interest and vital importance to the region and to the United States. At the same time, Syria was listed as a state sponsor of terrorism. So you can always look at these relationships through one lens when, in fact, these relationships trigger a wide range of different interests. And the United States has tried hard to work cooperatively for peace and security in the region, while again encouraging these countries across the region, to undertake vital reforms.
PJ, I think you still have not forgotten your talking points. Remember, you're no longer in the government. Mr. Grass, please.
Oui, merci. Écoutez, l'Union européenne est un concept assez ample. Je ne pense qu'on peut dire que l'Union européenne ou les Européens comme ensemble ont appuyé les dictatures. Vous avez raison, il y a certains gouvernements, et plutôt que gouvernements, je dirais certaines personnalités politiques. Berlusconi, qui, par exemple, il était associé dans quelques affaires avec Kadhafi. On sait qu'il y a quelques membres de quelques gouvernements européens, comme membres du gouvernement français, qui avaient des relations très étroites avec le Ben Ali ou avec le Moubarak, c'est vrai. Mais on ne peut pas dire que l'Union européenne a fait ce sort d'association. Nous avons fait un pari pour le changement, la transformation graduelle. Si je suis sûr, compte tenu de votre position, que vous connaissez bien le processus de Barcelone, si vous regardez ce que l'Union européenne avait proposé l'année 1995, c'était une proposition pour un changement graduel, un changement profond à travers une pluralité de médias, une pluralité sociale, une éducation, une acceptation de partis politiques. Qu'est-ce que s'est passé? Il y a quelques pays qui ont entamé, pas sur la suggestion de l'Union européenne, c'était un changement qui venait de dedans. Et je vais rendre hommage aujourd'hui au Maroc. Parce qu'on parlait avant si on avait été capable d'anticiper ou pas anticiper ces transformations, et il faut le dire très clairement, il n'y a qu'un seul pays qui a anticipé cette transformation historique, qui est le Maroc. Pourquoi? Parce que à la fin des années 90, le roi Hassan II s'est rendu compte qu'il fallait transformer, moderniser, et il a ouvert la porte à la pluralité, mais aussi parce qu'il avait eu la sagesse et l'intelligence de respecter un système de partis politiques, même si ces partis politiques ne fonctionnaient pas dans une démocratie. On ne pouvait pas dire que c'était une démocratie, mais le parti politique existait. Et c'est ça qui a permis à l'USFP de devenir le parti du gouvernement l'année 98. Donc, il y a 15 ans déjà que cette transformation a commencé, et c'est ça qui a permis au Maroc de gérer les choses d'une façon totalement différente. Mais je retourne en 95. Si vous lisez la déclaration de Barcelone, tous les éléments de changement, de pluralisme, de démocratie, d'éducation, de transformation sociale sont là. Mais la proposition, c'était de le faire graduellement, comme le Maroc l'a fait. À l'époque, on parlait même de la bombe sociale qui un jour allait exploser. Je vous donne un autre argument pour vous montrer à quel point on ne peut pas dire que tous les Européens ont fait partie de cette complicité avec les régimes. Moi, j'étais le chef de cabinet du Premier ministre espagnol, M. Zapatero. Il a refusé de rencontrer Ben Ali. Et l'Espagne, quand elle a appuyé des représentants de la Tunisie pour le groupe de haut niveau de l'Alliance des civilisations, à qui a proposé à Mohamed Charfi, qui était l'un des oppositeurs les plus importants de la dictature de Ben Ali. Et on a eu une crise terrible avec M. Ben Ali et son équipe. On ne peut pas dire que tous les Européens ont appuyé les dictatures. On a fait des erreurs. Il y a des gouvernements, j'insiste plutôt, des personnalités qui ont fait des erreurs très importantes, mais on ne peut pas dire ça de tous les Européens.
Merci ليون. قبل أن أذهب إلى الحضور للسؤال الثاني، عندي سؤال للدكتور عبد الغفار. هناك انطباع في العالم العربي وكأن دول مجلس التعاون الخليجي غير متحمسة للربيع العربي إذا صح التعبير. هل هناك هوة بين دول مجلس التعاون الخليجي وسائر العالم العربي؟
طبعا لا، دول مجلس التعاون جزء من الوطن العربي وجزء هام جدا. في البحرين حسب باحثة أمريكية كتبت بحث عن مملكة البحرين وأوضحت بأن ربيع وأسمته ربيع المنامة، بدأ ربيع المنامة عاصمة البحرين سنة 1999 حينما تولى الملك حمد الحكم في البلاد، وبدأ العملية الإصلاحية الشاملة قبل أحداث نيويورك وقبل الأحداث الإرهابية التي وقعت في نيويورك وغير نيويورك. فبدأت التجربة الإصلاحية الديمقراطية في البحرين من بداية عهد جلالة الملك حمد بن عيسى آل خليفة ملك مملكة البحرين. فالربيع البحرين بدأ من تلك الفترة واستمرت العملية الديمقراطية حتى وصلنا إلى 2011 14 فبراير 2011 أحداث الشغب التي حصلت في البحرين. الناس يسألون لماذا حدث هذا في البحرين؟ أولا يجب أن نذكر بعض الحقائق حتى نتوصل عن طريق هذه الحقائق لماذا هذا حصل. الحقيقة الأولى أن هناك في البحرين سنة 2011 كان هناك برلمان منتخب، والمعارضة البحرينية كانت تمثل 48% من البرلمان. 48% من البرلمان. وأكرر لأن هذه المعارضة كانت تستطيع أن تغير حتى تعدل الدستور وتعمل أشياء كثيرة حسب ما ترى من خلال الأجهزة الدستورية التي كانت موجودة في البحرين ولا زالت موجودة عن طريق البرلمان. الشيء الآخر، الدول العربية الأخرى مثلا كانت تعاني من البطالة، بينما نسبة البطالة في 2011 في البحرين كانت 3.4 أو 3.7، يعني البطالة متدنية جدا جدا. النمو الاقتصادي بالرغم من الأزمة الاقتصادية العالمية التي مرت على العالم منذ 2008، النمو في البحرين كان حوالي 4.5% 2011. فالمبررات التي حركت ربما الجموع في الشوارع في الدول الأخرى لم تكن موجودة في البحرين وفي دول مجلس التعاون الأخرى. طيب لماذا حصل هذا؟ طبعا هناك مجموعات متطرفة. المجموعات المتطرفة في مملكة البحرين وهي مجموعات عابرة للحدود. وأريد أن أذكر، وأنا أشرت في مداخلتي الأولى بأن الانقلابات التي حصلت في العالم العربي منذ انقلاب حسني الزعيم سنة 1949 في سوريا، وأتت بعد ذلك المسلسلات المتلاحقة الانقلابات العسكرية، هذه الانقلابات بنت دولة الحزب الواحد. لأنها دولة بنت الحزب الواحد فهمشت الآراء الأخرى، ولكن هذه الأشياء لم تكن موجودة في البحرين بالدرجة الأولى، لأن كانت الأحزاب المعارضة تمارس وإلى اليوم تمارس جميع الأدوات الحقوقية الموجودة، من مظاهرات، من خطابات، من مسيرات، من حرية رأي، كل هذا الموجود. الحركات المتطرفة الموجودة في البحرين، وهي ليست في البحرين، هي عابرة للحدود، معظمها حركات أيديولوجية ثيوقراطية تتجمع حول مبادئ ولاية الفقيه. هناك من يؤمن بالولي الفقيه الذي موجود في طهران، وهناك من يؤمن بولاية الفقيه ليس بالطريقة الإيرانية. مثلا هناك حركة شيرازية تسمى حركة شيرازية، ربما الأخوة لا يعرفون أو لا يعرفون هذه الحركة. هذه حركة متطرفة جدا، يتبعون آية الله محمد الشيرازي ويؤمنون باقتلاع جميع الأنظمة في العالم العربي، ربما ليس في منطقة الخليج، ويؤمنون بطريقة معينة للولي الفقيه ولكن تختلف نوعا ما عن الطريقة الإيرانية. فأريد أن أوضح بأن المبررات التي وضعوها أمام الناس بأن هذه أدت إلى هذه الحركة في البحرين، كل المبررات لم تكن موجودة. لكن يجب أن نتذكر المجتمع البحريني مجتمع حيوي، وخاصة الشباب البحريني شباب حيوي وشباب يدعو إلى التطور ويدعو إلى التغيير ويدعو إلى ذلك، وكل هذه المطالب مشروعة، وكل هذه المطالب طبعا الدولة تحاول أن تتفاعل معها حتى نطور، لأن الشباب هم عماد المستقبل.
شكرا دكتور عبدالغفار. Please, I have a question right here. Please state your name. No. Please, let's start here first, and then right here.
Thank you very much. Thank you. My name is Suad McKenna. I'm a journalist and a book author and a fellow at Science and Harvard. I have two questions. First of all, about the role of the US in the whole process. And I'm wondering, PJ, you know, you mentioned also WikiLeaks, and some of the documents that came out and some other documents that we got hold of showed actually that the US had for a long time sponsored trips of so-called activists from Egypt, Tunisia, Bahrain to the US, where they got some training how to use social media and other outlets for actually creating some kind of revolution or democracy movement. So I would be wondering to hear what you think about that. The other thing is the issue that was mentioned here, the role of social media. I, as a journalist who covered all these so-called Arab Spring countries except for Yemen on the ground, always suffered from some of the realities that were created in so-called Twitter or Facebook forums where my editors would call me and say, we've been hearing that this and this is happening on that and that road, aren't you there? And I said, no, it's not happening. And I'm a little worried when I see that State Department or the European Union to a certain extent are basing some of their analysis just by analyzing some of these Twitter accounts. And last but not least, allow me to, since women have been mentioned, Mr. Gross, I don't know if you're aware of the last poll that came. Yes, exactly. Yeah, okay, well. The last poll that came out from Thomson Reuters last week that clearly said that the situation of women in all so-called Arab Spring countries has worsened, and which is actually leading me to the question to these two ladies who are on the panel. Do you believe you would be, or you would have been in the situation, in the position you are in today, if you would have had a full-fledged democracy, Western-style democracy in your countries in the last 5 years? Do you think you would have been able to be in the positions you're sitting in?
Okay, PJ, can you go first? And I think Minister Rajab is in a better position to answer the second question. And then Lèon, please, briefly, if you can answer the last one.
The United States has democracy programs in many countries, and in many of the countries that experienced change in the Arab Spring. You know, Egypt among them. A very active, program, and then even through the change in government, actually experienced a difficult situation where Egypt put some democracy activists on trial, and so we're not trying to choose winners or losers. We're trying to provide the tools to help groups improve their ability to communicate with and engage, their governments. You're exactly right on the issue of the role that, as Samira said, all elements of media, played, during this time. And I think we had an inflated idea in 2009 of the role that social media played in the Green Revolution in Iran. Certainly, the candidates for president in 2009 were using the internet, to communicate, with their constituents. But it's very, and while Twitter played a role, in many cases, the tweets were being done outside of Iran, not inside of Iran. By the same token, you saw in Syria a case where traditional journalists were unable in the early stages of the conflict to report on what was happening there. And social media did play a significant role in keeping, in increasing visibility to the conflict until, more recently, you now have a combination of social media and citizen journalists and traditional journalists reporting on the tragedy in Syria. In the case of Egypt or Bahrain, it was not one, it was perhaps a media infrastructure, a combination of traditional media, satellite television, and social media that, where in the case of Egypt, Mubarak literally did try to disconnect his country, from the internet. And there was just a thick media infrastructure collectively that he could not disconnect the country, from the outside world.
Points well made.
Yeah.
Okay. Minister Rajab, please, if you want to answer her second question.
بالنسبة للإعلام وما حدث في المنطقة، أنا أعتقد أن البحرين هي أكثر دولة تعرضت إلى عملية فبركة إعلامية لإظهار ما يحدث في البحرين بصورة مختلفة، وللأسف الشديد أن هذا الإعلام كان مدعوما من أطراف خارج البحرين، وهذه الجماعات أيضا هي مدعومة من أطراف خارج البحرين، وأثبتت ربما وثائق ويكيليكس وقائع كثيرة. الحقيقة أن البحرين دولة ليبرالية متمدنة وحضارية، واليوم تعاني من جماعات دينية إسلامية سياسية متطرفة مؤدلجة تريد أن ترجع بالمجتمع البحريني إلى عشرات السنين إلى الخلف. وعبر الإعلام هذه الحقائق لم تظهر، وهناك دعم إعلامي عبر خطب لرؤساء دول لهذه الجماعات، والشعب البحريني يعيش هذا التناقض. من يقول أن هذه التغييرات حققت تقدم ديمقراطي فهو يكذب علينا نحن، على الأقل نحن المجتمع العربي، لأن وضع الديمقراطي أصبح أكثر سوءا. أنا أتكلم على الأقل عن البحرين وما يحدث في الخليج. المرأة البحرينية وصلت إلى أعلى المناصب وتحارب قوى إسلامية اليوم تتولى اسم المعارضة على المنابر الدينية، لا تؤمن بحرية المرأة ولا حقوق المرأة ولا الديمقراطية حقيقة، ولكن مدعومة من الخارج بإعلام قوي أنها معارضة. ففي تناقض كبير في وسائل الإعلام تريد الوصول إلى تغييرات لا تناسب مصالح شعوب المنطقة. ومن يقول أن التغيير يتطلب وقت، والتغييرات عميقة، وعمق التغييرات هذا يتطلب وقت، أنا أعتقد على الشعوب الأوروبية والأمريكية أن تأتي وتعيش في هذه الدول التي تدمر يومياً وتتجه نحو التدمير وقتل الأرواح بالألوف وبالعشرات والقنابل والصواريخ، وبعد ذلك أن تقول أن هذا التغيير عميق وبحاجة إلى وقت. التغيير لابد أن يكون عبر الإصلاح وليس عبر التدمير وعلى القتل، والبحرين اتجهت إلى هذا الإصلاح منذ 13 سنة، ونحن نعيش حالة تحول ديمقراطي مؤسسي بشكل حضاري جيد.
الفكرة واضحة، شكرا. Lèon, please briefly if you can answer her question. The third question, please.
Well, I think the person who wrote this report from Reuters should be here today, should answer your question by seeing this whole, where more than 50% of the people are women, where you are, I mean, the reality is always more complex than what reports and indicators say. I don't think that you can say the situation of women is worse or is better. It's changing. You have now more freedom. So one of the things you know was happening in Egypt before is that the regime was instrumentalizing the role of women. Lady Mubarak was using the cause of women seriously, because what she was doing was serious, was real, was not only makeup but trying to produce real changes. But it was just to make stronger the regime. So she was instrumentalizing women. Today this is not going on. You have more freedom. You have some radicals in Egypt from the Salafis and others saying that women shouldn't be allowed to do this or that. And this is what makes the front pages in the media, and this is what takes many people to think that the situation of women has worsened. But if you go to Tunisia and you see what the constitution, the new constitution is proposing, where the personal status of women has been constitutionalized, so upgraded in terms of protection, where you see what the new constitutional committee, it's a pity that there is only 1 or 2 women in this committee of 50, but having said that, I know that what they are debating is also to upgrade, to constitutionalize and to protect more the role of women in society. So I don't think seeing things in long term and seeing things seriously from a wider perspective, that the situation has worsened. You have risks, you have more radicals proposing radical messages about women, but if you see, I insist, what is the reality like in this hall today, and you ask all the women in this hall whether they would accept that they are discriminated or they are excluded, I'm sure they will say no.
Thank you. Thank you. With the 5 minutes remaining, Dr. Makram Ebeid, you have something to say before I go to the question for the lady right here. Please go ahead.
I want to answer this question about women, but first of all, I refuse the word ridiculous that was attributed to what I said, because I did not say that we are asking the EU for demonization of the MB, but we were asking them to condemn violations of human rights and violations against women. Now, to answer your question about Reuters, I think it was shocking because it is the real state. Women have had a terrible setback in the past year, and all their achievements that have been achieved in the past years have been vulnerable to changes of mien and to changes and to the vision of the obscurantists today and the radicals of how they want to impose on women how to dress, how to speak, when to pray, where to go, and so on. So this, of course, is refused. And yes, women are more resilient, they're more flexible, they're more enduring, but they have to fight a double war today. Not only to retrieve what has been taken by them, but also to try to achieve more than what has been happening. I think that women have a great role to play, but as you said, if we had had democracy, you wouldn't have had 2 women here, you would have had 10. But we don't have democracy yet. And the new constitutions that is being done in Egypt is avoiding the term quota, which we are asking for as a mechanism to enable women to have political empowerment, let's say, in the next elections, because they're going to remove all the appointments. So this has been refused until now, and so the chauvinistic culture that exists in the Arab world is still, and the patriarchal dominance is still there.
Thank you very much, Dr. Makram Ebeid. With the last remaining few minutes, I would like to take a few questions and then we answer all of them. So please go ahead. Please make it brief.
شكرا. أنا ليلى الخياط سيدة أعمال ونعمل في مجال حقوق المرأة في جمعيات غير حكومية، وبقدر ما نستبشر بكل ما قالته الأخت من البحرين، وهو حقيقة بالنسبة للميديا. وكنت أتمنى أن أرى الوزير الأول السابق السيد جبالي يكون حاضر حتى كي نتكلم.
الرجاء الإسراع بالسؤال لو سمحت.
أي السؤال هو متوجه بالنسبة للسيد اللي يمثل اليونيون أوروبيان والأمريكان، الاتحاد الأمريكي. هو يريد أنه ننظر بأكثر موضوعية بالنسبة لوضعية المرأة في الوقت الحاضر. بعد الثورة هي الثورة صارت على الكرامة وعلى الشغل لحاملي الشهائد. المرأة في بلدي تونس هي ليست ديكور، هي واقع في معناها موقع اجتماعي، موقع سياسي، وموقع اقتصادي فعال. في الوقت الحاضر نخشى ما صار في إيران. نعرف قديش أمريكا دعمت معناتها نهوض الخميني والنظام السابق، ونعرف من بعد كيفاش الأمريكان اضطروا أن يقاوموا النظام اللي هو يضطهد المرأة بصفة خاصة. احنا نخشى ما أخشاه بالنسبة للمرأة في تونس، والقانون معناتها الدستور غيرناه شوية في الأيام الأخيرة، لكن يريد تعطيونا توضيح أكثر بالنسبة لموقفكم لحقوق المرأة في بلداننا العربية الإسلامية.
شكرا. Before we start the answers, please, we'll take one more question right here. Who do we have on this side, please? The gentleman right here, please. Please. Please make it quick and brief, and then we'll go back to answer all the questions.
حسني عبيدي من مركز دراسات حول العالم العربي في جنيف. يعني هناك إجحاف كبير يعني في قضية الربيع العربي، يعني عمره ما كان الربيع العربي فصل من فصول السنة ومحطة بداية لتغيير شامل، وبالتالي القول بأن الربيع جاء بعد الشتاء أعتقد فعلا هو ظلم لملايين من المواطنين الذين كانوا يريدون فقط عملية التغيير. صحيح أنه هناك ربما مناصب شغل ناقصة كذلك، لكن كم من سارق، كم من معذب، كم من قاتل تم الآن إخراجهم يعني بطريقة غير مباشرة. لولا ما فيش تغيير أو إرادة في التغيير لما وقع مثلا في البحرين عملية مراجعة الدستور، لجنة مستقلة إلى غير ذلك.
شكرا.
النقطة الثانية والأخيرة لو سمحت.
رجاء ما في وقت كثير، في غيرك بده يسأل لو سمحت. نقطة واحدة لو سمحت السيدة
يعني
هنا.
بالنسبة للدكتورة مكرم
لو سمحت
رجاء هناك الدستور.
الرجاء.
الدستور دقيقة لو سمحت. قضية الدستور يعني هل العملية فعلا هناك انقسام بين الإخوان المسلمين والشعب المصري، أم هي قضية شرعية أن هناك رفض لعملية تغيير لا تمر من خلال صندوق؟
النقطة واضحة، الصورة واضحة.
وقتل عملية
لو سمحت رجاء لو سمحت. شكرا. Please, the lady right here.
Merci beaucoup. Je suis Rodi Kratz, je suis parlementaire européenne. J'adresse une question très brève au panel, distinguished speakers of the panel. Quelle est la relation entre intérêt géostratégique et protection des droits de peuple, des droits humains? Relation de la religion avec la promotion de la démocratie et les droits des femmes. Merci.
Thank you. Now, please, I ask each one of the panelists to have 1 minute to answer any of the questions that you have heard. Starting with you, PJ.
You're exactly right. The plight of women over the past 10 or 15 years in the region has declined from Iraq all the way to Egypt. It's undeniable. And there cannot be democracy anywhere in the world if half of the population is left behind, which is one of the reasons why it was a priority for my former boss, Hillary Clinton, wherever she went around the world. I do think that change is coming. Change has already happened, but more change will come. It is better, as Samira said, if it's done through institutions. But it also has to be done through inclusive processes, which is the challenge for Egypt. Will we get to an inclusive election in Egypt if one of the competing elements in the political sphere in Egypt is under arrest? That will be a very difficult challenge. I recognize that Morsi, for example, was failing, but do you fail within a democratic process, or do you have change through military action? It's better for Egypt in the long run and better for other countries in the long run if it's done through democratic institutional processes than through extraordinary measures.
Thank you, PJ. Please.
أنا أؤكد أن التغيير مطلوب في المنطقة العربية بشكل عام، ومن يقول أن التغيير اللي حصل أخرج المئات من السجون ومن التعذيب، أيضا هذا التغيير أدخل مئات الألوف إلى السجون وإلى التعذيب. ولكن التغيير مطلوب. التغيير بالقتل والتدمير والفرقاء والطوائف لن يحقق تغيير إيجابي، بل نحن نتجه نحو التفتيت وخلق صراعات جديدة في المنطقة لن تكون ديمقراطية أبداً. فإذا نحن بحاجة إلى تغيير إصلاحي حقيقي، وهذا ما ذكرت أخ حسني. البحرين توجهت إلى هذا التغيير في عام 2000 وعام 2011 دخلنا أيضا في تغييرات دستورية لنصل إلى توافق مع المعارضة، ولا زلنا ندخل في حوارات مستمرة بحيث أن يبقى التغيير تغيير إيجابي وتغيير سلمي، لا يكون هناك عنف، ولكن نؤكد أن التغيير مطلوب على طول باستمرار.
شكرا. Lèon, please 1 minute. Forget your Spanish and give us 1 minute only.
Well, on the one hand, regarding the constitutions, we have made many statements. The European Union, you can see that in the internet, in the web page of the European Union about the women's situation, the women's rights. I can tell you that while Mr. Morsi was running Egypt, and we criticized that the constitution didn't include in the discrimination article women. And not only that, but we organized a visit of Catherine Ashton to Egypt, and she met all the most important women organizations in Egypt. We increased our economic support to these organizations, so the position was very clear. Pour la question de la relation entre la géostratégie et les droits de l'homme, vous avez raison. Je pense que quand on parle de l'appui de l'Union européenne à certaines dictatures, ce qu'on veut dire, c'est qu'au nom de la stabilité, au nom de la lutte contre Al-Qaïda et au nom du processus de paix, la communauté internationale a appuyé des dictatures. Nul doute. Et elle a mis devant la préoccupation pour le droit de l'homme et la démocratie ces trois préoccupations: la stabilité, Al-Qaïda, processus de paix, processus entre Israéliens et Arabes. On a appris la leçon. Ce qu'on fait maintenant, ce qu'on essaye de faire maintenant, c'est mettre devant toute autre considération l'appui sans interférence, sans ingérence, mais l'appui à la démocratie et les droits de l'homme.
Thank you very much, Dr. Makram Ebeid. Please, in 1 minute.
Yes, I want to ask to answer both the question here about inclusiveness. Inclusiveness does not mean to include those who have perpetrated violence and incited criminal acts. Those cannot be included in the next political process, and they must be brought to justice. That does not mean excluding the Muslim Brotherhood. They are to, once they accept the rules of the game, the rules of the democratic game, which is to establish a democratic, modern, egalitarian state, they are welcome to participate. And I'm sure that they will participate in the next elections, although they have lost a lot of their popularity. As for women, I want to answer the ladies here. As long as religion is interfering in politics, this will hamper the promotion of women. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Abdulghafar, please, the final remark.
أنا أعتقد أركز إلى موضوع بناء الدولة الديمقراطية. الدولة الديمقراطية يجب أن تبدأ بالمؤسسات الحقيقية، حتى وإن تغيرت الأحزاب في الحكم فالدولة ستبقى. فكما ذكرت أن في 60 سنة الماضية دول الثورات أو الانقلابات لم تتمكن من بناء هذه المؤسسات، وإنما بنت مؤسسة الحزب الواحد. شكرا.
Thank you very much.